Hi there, Kate Boer and Fiona Pearman joining you for this week's live where we continue our conversation around merit and the merit myth. And today we want to really dig into the benefits of hiring based on merit, which is one of the reasons it's still such a really popular conversation. And I think to start with, in a meritocracy or if we're hiring based on merit, for individuals, it's really clear what's expected or what's required of me to be successful. I've got a little to-do list or a clear outcomes list that's linked to outcomes the organization is wanting me to make. And in theory, and what we're saying in practice, I'm rewarded, I'm recognized, and I'm promoted based on the contributions I make to the organization and their success.
Secondly, we're going to attract top talent. High performers are drawn to those organisations, those environments where their skills and achievements are seen as the primary drivers for advancement. And so it's not about seniority or who you know. These people are more likely to stay, enhance retention, they're going to have better morale, and they're going to have better career opportunities.
And if we think about decision making in a meritocracy, we're prioritizing expertise and competence over title. So we're going to have the right people, the most qualified individuals around the table making the decisions. This is going to have a flow-on effect to productivity, to innovation, and of course to economic outcomes and risk. Now, all of this sounds fabulous. And despite these benefits, most researchers emphasize that this true meritocracy can really only exist in organizations who are actively implementing diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives to remove the systemic barriers and create a truly level playing field from the start.
So I wanted to share some examples around what would be necessary in order to create that meritocracy. And we'll start with recruitment and widening the funnel. Blind recruitment processes, removing the names and gender from CVs, means that we're focused on the relevant skills and experience. Skills-based hiring, we want to be open to people beyond the regular, strict degrees or qualifications. We want to be looking for people from other domains and potentially bringing new skills into the mix. And we want to be more inclusive about our sourcing. There's a lot of bias towards mainstream candidates and mainstream pools. And so being open to more diverse groups, potential candidates get overlooked, means we're going to have more diversity in our pool of employees.
Now we think about candidate selection in a meritocracy and to preserve the integrity of that merit conversation. We're going to have structured interviews. Every candidate's going to be asked the same set of predetermined questions. We're going to score those questions or their answers and compare those. And we're going to have diverse people on panels interviewing in the interview process so that seniority doesn't influence any particular hiring decision or anyone's unconscious bias doesn't untowardly play out in that selection decision.
Finally, if we think about retention and promotion, being able to level that path, we need to be aware that we're going to have to design and implement some really good formal sponsorship programs. We're going to have to pair those high potential but underrepresented employees with senior leaders so that they are included in the advocacy. They are given more high profile opportunities. We're going to have to conduct some really serious pay and promotion audits. We're going to have to look at the data and look at who we're promoting, why and how, what the gender, ethnicity, pay gaps that are going on, and how a merit system may potentially be breaking down. And finally, we're going to need to really examine our flexible work policies. If we want to include everybody, we need to not just have those for available 9 to 5, but make sure that people have opportunities through flexible work schedules, despite other roles and activities they may need to do, so we get their contribution into the system as well.
So yes, meritocracy or merit-based hiring exists and it works. And in order to hold the integrity of this, we have to implement this broad, diverse, and we haven't even, touched on all of the sort of initiatives that are required to be able to overcome some of the structural and systemic barriers that will naturally infiltrate into the decision-making processes of humans, because we are human beings making decisions in organizations. And this, to do all of that is really hard. I think we like to feel like this should be easy, but when you actually start to look at the research around what it takes for organizations to preserve the true integrity of a merit-based hiring organization, it's difficult. It takes a lot of resource, it takes a lot of process, it takes a lot of policy to be able to hold this integrity, and rarely is it in reality done well.
So, why does this concept of merit persist? What's going on? Beneath the surface, there's a lot of personal investment here. I want to believe I'm a fair person. This concept persists because it aligns with our intention, our sense of fairness and agency. It sounds factual. It sounds as though it's unbiased, and we want to believe that we are fair people, that we're not influenced by other factors. And if I have to accept that it's a myth, this meritocracy, that undermines who I think of myself as. It shatters my illusion of being a fair person and questions my identity, which feels really uncomfortable.
Yeah, particularly on the hiring side. But if we switch to the individual side, I think as humans, we want to believe that hard work is enough, right? That I can be successful no matter what my circumstances, that it is within my control, that the more effort I put in, the more that I study and the more credentials I have, the more successful I will be. And we don't like to think about or process the fact that there is a complex web of structural barriers, privilege that exist within our society that do in fact impact the levels of success that we achieve both in career and life.
I think finally there's a piece here around, sometimes called a lesser evil argument, that most people, when they examine it, admit that meritocracy has its flaws, that it's difficult to do. But when they look at the alternatives, oh my goodness, we're going to reward people based on a group identity. We're going to invoke quotas. We're going to do certain things that feels like it's going to advantage another group. That would be so much worse. And that would lead to economic problems. And so it becomes a tricky thing for us to balance these tensions and to understand what's going on. And because these are deeply hardwired psychological standpoints, it's very difficult to change them.
We're going to leave it there. If you've enjoyed today's confidence conversation, we'd love to hear from you. And we'd also, of course, love for you to share it with anyone within your network. If you'd like to hear more from us, head over to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe or follow while you're there. Over 400 videos that you can listen to, including over 50 Acts of Confidence alumni talking about the impact of their program experience on their career and life. And if and when you're ready to go deeper with your relationship with Core Confidence, visit our website, coreconfidence.com.au. Thanks for tuning in today. Don't forget to hit subscribe on your YouTube channel for more insights on confidence, leadership, and complex work environments. We drop new videos regularly and we'd love to share them with you.